Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 36 of Run to the Hills. Hi, Gary, from a freezing alpine Nordic chalet. I've had to put a heater next to me. What is this? What is this weather? But yeah, we do. We've got portable heaters, and it's right up next to my leg. It's so cold. Tell me about England. I bet it's sunny. It's always sunny.
It is today, but yeah, we've had a bit of a weather shift. I was dreaming of a lovely dry May for my Bob Graham attempt, and it's gone a bit mixed at the moment, but today's nice. The forecast for the weekend's not so great, but
I always know what the weather is because people can't help themselves on Strava, can they? That there has to be a weather comment, a little bit of rain, a little bit of wind. They'll be like, so windy. Totally threw off all my stats. Normally that would be so much faster. Or it's just, I'm like, everybody. Anyway, what you been up to? What's news?
All right. So Bob Graham catch up, actually. We did
let's do this.
A leg 1 and 2 recce on Saturday or Sunday. So we went over early, had a lovely day. The weather was fantastic, actually. And that is kind of Skiddaw, Calver, Blencathra.
The classics.
Yeah, then you do Clough Head, the Dodds, and make your way to Helvellyn. And what I had this kind of, one of the guys that we were running with mentioned, is this like, how far did you get on your attempt? And we ran past the infamous spot up to Helvellyn. And but then I realized, all these, I think I've mentioned earlier, I've never been kind of depressed about thinking that I could have went further. There was definitely the weather on the day. But all of these recce's that I've done for the past, since lockdown eased in the UK, have been longer and further than my actual attempt. Which I thought was quite...
Do you feel like a different person going into this second attempt?
Yeah, I do. We went over to the lakes, but again, in and out of lockdown in the UK, it wasn't all plain sailing, but I never did these double legs or these out and backs where it was 6, 7, 8 hours plus on the fells. And then coming, obviously, I'm not going to say I wasn't tired on Sunday. I was tired on Sunday, but not aches and pains and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely. And again, like the mindset of just doing these recce's longer than my actual attempt lasted, make them mentally, I feel, in a pretty good place. But we had a right treat, actually. We just kind of come off Helvellyn and we're heading towards Nethermost Point, which sounds worse than what it actually is.
Dodgy.
We ran past Sabrina Vergés, which is quite nice. And she...
Now, did she say, Gary, big fan, long-time listener?
You're not the only person to ask that. No.
Oh! Did she even recognise you?
I haven't got a clue if she recognised me or not. She didn't acknowledge me, put it that way. I know.
How did she look? Was she have a crew around her?
Oh, yeah, there was a bunch of them, and there was a little group ahead of her. Now, I'm not too sure if they were part of the whole group or not. There's a few guys ahead of her. I'm pretty sure someone had a camera, and then there was a kind of crew with her too. It was quite funny though. I think it was me, but I'm forgetting now if it actually was or not. But I'm pretty sure I said, "Oh, I wonder if we bump into Sabrina," and then like a minute later, we bumped into her.
Now, sadly, she's had to stop her attempt.
Yes, unfortunately, weather seemed to have got the better of that challenge.
There's a picture of like the ice at 90 degrees. I mean, I did think, God, I go out in that light every day. Suck it up. But I mean, the wind must have been.
Well, I saw some footage. They did a great job of kind of keeping us updated.
Yeah.
And
horrendous.
Steve Birkinshaw was like, he's freezing. And you could see when he was running, he was doing what looked like a kind of high knees raises because he couldn't really move fast, but he just needed to try to do anything to keep warm. And when you got experienced mountain runners like that, saying it was atrocious.
Yeah. And the big thing is the exhaustion as well. She's not moving fast enough to keep herself warm. It's actually quite dangerous too, isn't it? Yeah. So the right call. But she was ahead of schedule, wasn't she? We reckon about 10 hours.
Enough about Sabrina. It's my intro.
So sorry.
We'll talk about Sabrina later.
Carry on about your day out.
I did. What else did I do? I did some strides. I'll rattle through it. Intervals, S&C. So I've had another good week.
Is that it now for your Bob Graham recce's? Have we all heard enough about those now? We're going to change record?
No, I've got a few more later on in the show.
Oh, Lord. How many more?
I've got no more content once it's
I know.
After June. That's me done. No.
So where are we now? Is it a month? Is it a month pretty much today?
4th of June is the D-Day. So whatever that is, 4 5 weeks, 4 weeks maybe.
So when will you start the taper? What are you like in a taper? Do you like a long taper, short taper?
I'll probably be 2 or 3 weeks taper. Well, it's not annoying. It's good actually. A friend has a Bob Graham round attempt 22nd of May, and he's got me down for leg 1. The thing that's scary is he's super fast, so I am pretty scared about the prospect of doing leg 1 about 20 minutes faster than I've ever done it before. So that will be my last big run. So 22nd, I might go over there and go for a hike, just to kind of navigation wise. I'll be out on the fells. I don't know if I'll do that or not, but the 22nd of May, I suppose, will be the last kind of effort on course at kind of pace. And I'm pretty good in the taper. You do get a bit kind of jittery wondering if you've done enough, done it all right. But I just see it's all part of the training. If you taper wrong, it's as bad as missing half a dozen sessions. Was it 1%? You'd rather get there kind of 5-10% undercooked than 1% over. So
yeah, especially something like that. And I saw you'd put a shout out for some crew to help you. If you filled all the slots.
Yeah, we've done really well actually. It's always quite hard because you put out a shout out, and you don't want to kind of dismiss anybody, and you don't want people to come along who might not appreciate the high fells and stuff like that. And
yeah, the last thing you want is someone that you're going or waiting for, or yeah.
But I think the people that have responded, that's why I put it out on the Bob Graham Round forum and my own Facebook page, because I didn't want to just do a kind of random shout out, because you might just get somebody who maybe was a bit out of their depth, and for their safety, you really don't want that. And I don't want to be thinking about anything else apart from every 20 minutes.
Following someone's butt up a line,
that's
then
it.
passing your food back.
So how's your week been?
Oh, Gary, it's been raining and cold, and I'm on a deload week. Oh God, they don't make me feel good. So I finished my winter block, and I very nearly did one more week of training, because I felt this is classic. How classic is this? I was like, oh, loads more to give. I don't need a break. And then the minute you take a break, I feel so tired. I feel like I'm 90, and I've never done any exercise, and I've got no energy. And
it's funny that,
even my husband was like, "You're a bit grouchy with the kids this morning." I was like, "I know, I'm really sorry. I feel a bit like I've done a massive ultra. That post ultra the next week, you feel like it's coming out of your pores. Like you feel like you just feel horrible, and you can't settle to anything, and you're really tired, but your legs are a bit twitchy and." So obviously I have worked really, really hard this winter, not only doing all the skiing, but it's the elements as well. It's cold, it's a constant battle. And, I've never mentioned I've got 3 kids that I have to look after as well, and a job. So I'm having this week off, which I'm still doing little bits, but like quarter of what I normally do. I had one session to do, which I did before we chatted this morning. I keep coughing because I'm not used to running that fast. It's gone on my lungs a bit. And so I naively went out to it thinking, I am going to be on fire. I'm going to feel so great. This is going to be so easy, because normally I'm doing sessions like having done like 4 hours a day before, and I didn't do anything yesterday. Yes. But you can imagine the way that went, and I felt terrible. I couldn't get going. And I was meant to do 45 seconds on fast, 15 seconds jog, but like all on trail. So a bit like a fartlek-y sort of movement session. And I could not get myself going. I was like, come on. But I think mentally as well, there's a bit of a switch. If you go into this sort of week, normally, I'm the sessions, I'm laser focused. I've sort of taught myself up into them and really know what I'm doing and know what pace, heart rate, whatever the focus is. And I think because I'm not this week, I went into it a bit like, yes, and that's what you've got out of it, which is a good life lesson. If you go into something thinking, oh, this is a bit all right, that's all it was. But it's a good, as always, learning every day. Every day is a school day. That I was a lot more tired than I realized I was, and I needed this.
You can have a few sessions that don't go to plan, and because the training process should go on long enough to cover a few bumps along the way.
I think because I've had it quite smooth, because I've been doing all this mixed stuff, I've been able to perform in all the sessions because I haven't been doing like a hard run, then another run. It's been like a hard run and then a bike or a ski or whatever. Yeah. So I've been like, I haven't had to face up to the fact that I am actually really tired and that I need to. So it's perfect. So I'm having a nice... It's not nice. No one likes a deload week. We're runners, we get a bit twitchy, but it's so important, kids out there, it's so important to have that rest block in your training. And then hopefully next 6 weeks will be some more interesting content for people listening. And I'm going to start doing some sharpening work, looking to get the legs moving a bit. I ran fast for the first time down trail since before the snow, so let's say October. All my life, my quads, I can imagine like a bowl full of jelly, and I could feel them like gripping, going, oh, what do we do? We didn't, and my feet don't know how to move that fast. And I must have got it's like, it's a lot of practice still to go on, but anyway, it's all good, it's all learning, and hopefully next week's back in the game.
What's your sleep like? You're pretty good 8 hours a day, or is it a mixed bag?
My problem with the sleep is that nearly always, because there's 3 kids, one of them will wake up on a cycle, and I go to bed I'm in bed by 10.
Okay.
And that's my like natural. Sometimes if I go to bed at like 9:30, I won't go to sleep till 10. I go to bed at 10 and then we wake up at like 7:30. But if a kid comes in at like 10:30, 12, when I'm in that, like going into that really deep sleep, and the other night one came in and was like just on my shoulder. Oh my sweet Lord. I leapt through the roof. I was like, oh my God. Can you come and tuck me in? Are you having a joke? Can I come and tuck you in? Oh, and then I can't get back to sleep because of my adrenaline is like line of duty. So nearly, it's still, sleep isn't great. If I have a full sleep without somebody waking up, it's not great. It's getting there, but I am very good. I've said this before, of a midday nap. It's and this is again why I needed a deload week. Last weekend, took the kids to football, came back at 12 and just went, I've got to go to bed. I'm so tired. I've got to go to bed. And I slept till almost 4:00. So there we go.
We went over my dad's on Sunday and had a Chinese takeaway. And I ate so much food. After the meal, I just lay on the floor on Lisa's lap. My head rested and I was present, but my eyes were closed.
Is that like a lot of your life, Gary?
Yeah,
present with the eyes.
I've made a stupid mistake of putting some skinny jeans on, and they were like strangling me.
Oh, surely that's not a good visual.
Too old for that kind of attire, anyway.
I've started wearing jeans again because in the winter, all I wear is thermals and salopettes because I'm just going from skiing or leggings. And I put jeans on the other day for like the first time in about 6 months. I was like, oh no, what is this terrible restriction around my waist?
Yeah.
And my thought, this isn't good. And I sit down, back in the leggings. Let's talk race results.
Yeah, well, it's not a race, unfortunately, but we mentioned earlier, it looks like the weather, and then that seemed to trigger quite severe asthma for Sabrina Vergee's Wainwright's attempt. So that kind of came, I'm not too sure exactly, was it yesterday or I'm lost, it's Thursday today, so I think it was Tuesday we got the kind of confirmation it was over. They did a fantastic job actually on social media, keeping us updated. And I saw Paul Nelson, kind of friend of the show, with Sabrina heading off. It looked like he was on the bridge just coming out of Keswick. And they were just heading off into atrocious weather, basically. And that just caught up with them. Some of the, I've been over there every weekend, and a lot of you might have seen my glorious
so
images.
Unfair, yeah.
And it like literally used up all the sunshine credits, and she
it's all
got
your fault.
I know she got a big battering, but 318 miles, 214 peaks. And I think Paul Tini's still 6 days, 6 hours and 5 minutes. So hopefully, she'll go again. I think.
I've no doubt she will. I bet this has sort of fueled the hunger. Anyone can do it.
Who else did I see? Popped up on, I don't know this guy, but Matt Smevs Evans did the North Downs Way Southern Route FKT, which is 203 kilometers. And he did that in 27 hours, 28 minutes and 44 seconds, which I don't really know the routes at all. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but he has the FKT. It's been recognized as an FKT.
Well, I know the North Downs Way really well. I've run it tons of times.
Yeah.
But I've only run the 100-mile section that the Centurion race do. I've done lots of races over that bit round Box Hill and London, but it's not fast. It can be really muddy, and it's lots of ups and downs and routes and woody trail.
But get in touch, anybody. If you think anybody deserves a shout out, our gears. We're not like Mordor from Lord of the Rings, whatever. We kind of scan the whole of Middle Earth. we only see a little snippet of social media. So yeah, get in touch if you think anybody needs a shout out. I
saw Taggart Van Etten broke the 100 miles world record on a treadmill, 11 hours, 32 minutes, 5 seconds. He celebrated, jumped off with a champagne shower. That's how to finish a race. It's what I want to see. The end of your Bob Graham. Apparently he ran up to 200 miles a week training in a 15-week block, training for this. 11. I bet he felt sick. I remember when Susie Chan did her treadmill world record, and she said that she got really, really sick because you're just going, the view doesn't change. You get your balance goes.
Yeah.
Not sure there's any treadmill world records in my future, Gary. You? I can do about an hour and then I'm done. I never do a cool down. When I do my treadmill sessions, I do quite a long warm up. I do, but the minute it finishes, stop, save session, and I'm out of there. There's no way I'm doing a cool jog. It's like you lose for every hour you run on the treadmill. You definitely lose a day of your life, I'm sure. Anyway, kudos to Taggart.
Another one I saw pop up, a much shorter race, actually. It's really lovely, actually. I'm going to pronounce this completely wrong, but it's the Low-Rig Fell Race over, which I imagine it starts just outside of Ambleside and heads up to the fell top there, which is really nice. Nice run out. And then Jacob Adkins was first. Well, he won the race outright, first male. And Scout Adkin again. She's had a pretty good few weeks on the fells over there. She was first lady, so well done.
Right, let's talk about the competition. Bryn and I scrolled through all those photos the other night, got quite emotional.
I saw Neil Douthwaite.
He's gone. He's mad for it, man. He's mad for it.
He's got a camper van and he goes up to Scotland a lot. And I think now they can travel again. I'm pretty sure he's been up there. Forgive me, Neil, if that's incorrect. But yeah, he got hit us with some great images. Been very busy.
I love coming in. Keep them coming in, everybody. If you haven't, or if you're not into that sort of thing, it's not your bag. Just take a look at competition post. It's called on our Facebook page, and there's about 50 pictures in there. Yeah. Most of them from Neil, but. There's about 50 or 60 pictures in there. Wonderful scenes from all around the country. Got a couple of faves already, but I won't mention them. But
11th of May, isn't it? We're gonna draw the winner.
Yeah, May the next week, isn't it? I've written it in my calendar. End of competition, May the 11th. Every year, Father Christmas brings me the country file calendar, which I love. I have it by my bed, and I was like, this is a Run to the Hills calendar in the making.
I'm sure I've seen on TV. You can make your own personal calendar.
You can do something like that, Gary, in your spare time. Look it up.
Man of my ability. Thanks for listening. And if you're enjoying this episode, then pop a post on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Also leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast, Spotify or wherever you are tuning in from. Head over to YouTube too and subscribe to our channel.
This week, I caught up with Sarah Sawyer, who is a friend of the show and a friend of mine who had competed in the Centurion 100-mile track race last weekend. I wanted to chat to her because she very bravely entered this race, knowing that she was going to be skirting the cutoff for the race. But she had worked her socks off for this race, and she has a really interesting journey into ultras. I will put my hands to saying she's one of the hardest working age group athletes. Is that what you'd say? You'd say that in triathlon. She trains like a pro, day in, day out. She is fully committed, but she's just an ordinary person as well. And I thought she'd be quite inspirational for people to listen to on how she manages it, how her sort of journey into this race and how the race unfolded. So here's my chat with Sarah Sawyer. Hello, welcome to the podcast, Sarah Sawyer. I'm a longtime fan of Sarah's. She has completed multiple 100 milers, multiple ultras, is probably one of UK's females most experienced ultra runners and probably one of the nicest. The last time I saw you, Sarah, was in a dark housing estate in Reading, I think, and you were pacing. I
was pacing my friend Rhiannon.
That was it.
Yeah, and you were finishing the Auto 100, and you still found time to give me a hug mid-race.
You gave me a hug. I think I was like total facial collapse. It must be about like mile 90, isn't it?
Oh.
And I was just like, what am I doing? I was all by myself in a dark housing estate, and suddenly
it was so miserable that night. It was just torrential rain for hours and hours and hours. I was so glad I was only pacing my friend for the last 25 miles, or I think the pacer might have DNF'd.
You came around the corner and you were like, Eddie. I was like, oh, you're the first person I've seen. Because that bit, and anybody that hasn't done the Auto 100 knows that you go out, it's a 4 spur loop, and you run out like 13, 12 miles and turn around. Yeah. And the first three legs are really nice, but the last one takes you into, well, I don't even know where it takes. I don't think you could find it if you tried. It's like just an endless signposts saying you are in Reading and you're not. And I never forget, you came around the corner, you were like, I just needed that energy. And I think that's what sort of comes out of you, both in like your in your running, but in the way that you interact with people on social media and in races and the support that you give people. So I really wanted to get you on the podcast to sort of share your journey, because I think you're such an inspiration to lots of people, but especially women as well. And the way that you've tirelessly worked. We've been ultra running probably about, 10, how long have you been ultra running for?
I've only about 7 years. You ran at one of the very first ultras I ran, the Downs Link Ultra. And I remember you came third overall and first. You finished about 2 hours ahead of me. And I just remember going, who is that woman? I want to be like her.
Stop it, but I'm loving this podcast already. So I thought what we do is we're going to start sort of where you are right now in your journey, and we're going to work backwards, because last week, it seems ages ago, I was just driving back from the supermarket and I was like, it feels like a lifetime ago, but it was only like 10 days ago, wasn't it? That I was glued to watching you on YouTube running laps at the Centurion 100 miler. So can you tell us a little bit about that day from the beginning?
Well, as soon as Centurion announced that there was this Track 100, I was like, that is basically my dream race. It's a pure running race. So one of my main goals last year was to qualify for the race, because I was just outside the qualification standard. So when I set myself a goal, I'm like, that's my goal. So I got qualification at Burnout 24 Hours last October, and I was just, I can get to the race. And then it was like, I've actually got to run 100 miles faster than I've ever run it before. Kind of the realization kicked in. I had like great, fantastic few months of training. I started being coached by James Stewart in October. We were working really, really well together, and everything was just going to plan. Last few weeks before the race, kind of had a little hip niggle, but nothing of any note that I'd use as an excuse. And then race day came, and I think my biggest worry before the race was, I know the level of runner I am, and there was going to be such a little margin of error for me. I know where I am in the running pecking order. I'm not a Sam, I'm not an Ali, do you know what I mean? I was hoping to finish in about 16 hours 50. So over 17 hours, that's 10 minutes, margin forever. But so I was so worried that the pressure of the cut-offs might mean I wouldn't enjoy the day, and that's what I didn't want, because I just run because I love running. I just run with this big smile.
Yeah, and that's a big thing that you give such joy. And I often see your travel and you're like 31 miles of a half a mile track of running joy, and I'm like, shut up, nobody loves it that much, but you do.
I do, yeah. So I just decided, and I've spoken to James, my coach, before, that just completely run in the moment, don't think about the cut-off. So I didn't. So it was just 1 mile after another of just pure running joy and happiness. I cannot tell you how happy I was about 14 and a half hours on that track. I mean, the whole Centurion setup, I mean, what they did, putting on the race in COVID times, volunteers, the other runners, I mean, I was the slowest one on the track by far. I don't know how many times some of the runners lapped me. And, they were giving me encouragement every time they lapped. People like Stephen and Grant, I felt like saying, please don't keep encouraging me, because, save your breath. You're running your own race, because you're going to be lapping me a lot of times today. But that's what the whole day was like. Because I knew I had so little margin for error, I really basically had to run a perfect 100 miles. And that's not easy, is it? So, my pacing, my nutrition and things like that just went so well on the day. Those were the things that I thought that could unravel it. And, they didn't. They went absolutely perfect. And then even when it got to about 15 hours, I think, I know Sam had finished, so it's probably about 15 hours, I still thought I was going to finish, this 16:50-ish. And then, unbeknownst to me, I started leaning, I didn't know this until I saw the YouTube footage afterwards. I just couldn't work out why I could no longer run in a straight line. So I was like weaving all over the track like this, like I was drunk. There's a metal bit just on the inside of the track. I kept tripping over that. And my pace, which had just been, really, really consistent, just slowed down because I was just weaving all over the place. And I could kind of feel, I was like, I'm losing this little margin of error I've got. And then in the end, Tom came to spoke to me, and he'd spoken to James Elson, and just said, the pace that you're running now, you're not going to finish. You're going to finish in about 17:02 or something. He's like, can you run any quicker? And I was like, I can't. It sounds stupid, but, I'm weaving all over the place. So the decision was almost taken out of my hands. As soon as I stopped running, my right leg just collapsed under me. I had no pain in my right leg.
Yeah, I was going to say, did it hurt? Did it hurt as you were running? No.
Absolutely. If there had been, I wouldn't have plowed on. I don't think any race is worth a long-term injury for, is it? And my leg kind of collapsed. Nikki and Tom helped us over to our crewing area. And I mean, I can honestly say there is absolutely no disappointment about the race. I'm quite an open book. So if I'd sat here and cried for the week last week, I'd have told you. Do you know what I mean? I'm not ashamed of that. But when I look back at the training for it, the day itself, the fact that, so much of it was perfect, how can I be disappointed that just that little bit at the end didn't come? I took so much positivity out of the whole day that, the last bit didn't go to plan, but it hasn't spoilt my whole memory days. If you say to me Centurion Track 100, I'll just grin from ear to ear about it. So, yeah.
I wish people would take that, because and I think that's why you're continuing to improve and learn and get better, is because you love the process so much. And so the race is great and you love the race. And if the race goes really well, it goes really well.
Yeah, exactly.
If it doesn't, you've done everything you can to get yourself in shape, and the good Lord hands to you what it is, and you just deal with it. And
that's what I think about running. I love running so much, and it's almost like if a race goes really well, that's just kind of a bonus. Do you know what I mean? And that's what it felt like on Saturday. There was just so much positivity and love and good feeling and joy on that track that okay, the last half an hour was a bit shitty, but that's just running, isn't it?
And did you try and feed yourself when you were when they said you've got to run faster, or were you like, no, there's just no way?
I stuck to a really strict nutrition plan throughout, so I ate something every 30 minutes throughout. I'm pretty good on my nutrition, but I noticed in things like Spartathlon and my last couple of 24-hour races, sometimes in those last 2-3 hours you get a bit lazy. You're just like, oh my God, I can't face the gel. This time, and then I faded a bit. This time I knew I had no room to fade. So even at 16 hours, I was like, oh, shove another gel inside yourself. So there was nothing else I could do. My body just wouldn't work properly. And then, when I saw the YouTube video clips that people were watching, I was like, oh my God, what did I look like? As one of my friends said afterwards, he said, oh, it's the best DNF effort. I was like, oh, thanks, Gareth.
Yeah, you were in a bit of a goldfish bowl, aren't you? That's on the internet now. It's not going anywhere.
The thing is, I didn't realise so many people would be watching it. I knew it was being streamed live, and I thought, well, my mum and dad will watch it because they love following my races. 2 or 3 friends, and then it just feels like so many people watching 15 of us running round and round and round a track in Kent for like basically the 8th part of a day.
Listen, if I hadn't had to go and take kids to football and whatever, I turned it on. I turned it on like half an hour before it started and just watched the flags waving in the breeze. And then I was really happy watching, because also it's just like you can just tell when people are running and they look really good. And then like 5 minutes later, you see a little crack, or you just see, and it's all the interaction, because we could sort of see the crew and stuff and people walking around, and I could have happily, and also because you feel you're supporting people though you're watching that video, even though you're not, you didn't know we were watching you. But
no, I didn't. Until kind of I saw all the messages when I got back, and it was a bit like kind of overwhelming. I just run for myself, and I love running, and it was just a bit like, oh my God, all these people have been watching me and saying really nice things, and yeah.
So let's go back now. That's where you are now. Let's just talk a little bit about post-race trauma that you've had this week. I got in touch initially asking Sarah to come on the podcast, and she replied saying, "I'm so broken, I can't even talk." The drama.
Yeah. So when I stopped running, my right leg just gave up on me. And you never know when you finish an ultra what's just normal ultra aches and pains. And even on the Sunday, I mean, I couldn't walk, but it was just the usual post-ultra day. I was just drinking beer and eating crisps, standard post-day. And it was only when I woke up on Monday, and my right leg, I literally felt like I'd been shot in it. And I was like, right, this is over and beyond normal ultra aches and pains. So I've got a wonderful physio done, and I spoke to her. I was meant to be seeing her on the Tuesday. She actually came round to see me on Tuesday, which sounds really princessy, a home visit, but she does just live round the corner. So she came to see me on the way.
She's amazing.
Yeah. And she said, like, where the pain was in my quad, she said she felt it. She goes, your quad does feel a bit funny, but there was no swelling, no bruising. So she said, the thing that's most likely to be is a femur stress fracture. So I was like, The thing is, I've spoken to Dawn for years about stress fractures, because for me as a runner, it's like the worst thing you can get. And she's always told me a stress fracture isn't actually that bad. It's a very clean injury to rehab. And also, I've known so many friends who've had stress fractures and seen how they've come back. So I had the MRI and the X-ray on Tuesday, and then I was getting my results with the consultant on Thursday. So I almost had 48 hours, and I was just like, it's a stress fracture, this is fine. And I was thinking about people like you, because like when you had your stress fracture at the South Downs Way and then came back at the Autumn 100, how was your 19-something hours and second fever? And I was just like, I'm just going to be like Eddie, do you know what I mean? I'm going to jump in the pool and be aqua jogging. So I had it kind of, I'm a very practical person. So this is what's happened now, right? So this is how I'll deal with it. So I'd almost had the next, few months like that. And then I saw the consultant, and he was like, so you've torn your quad in 2 places. And I was like, what? You might think I've got a stress fracture in my quad. And my femur is like, no. And then he was talking it through, and I was going, can I just check? I definitely haven't got a stress fracture in my femur. So I came out, texted Tom, my husband, and friends, and we were all just like, yeah, the quad tear. It's the best quad tear ever. So so that's where I am. So it's not ideal, but it could be so much worse. And recovery and rehab is just going so well. I'm already walking just with one crutch. I'm back in the gym on the cross trainer and the bike. So it's just one of those things, isn't it? There's no point thinking poor me or what if,
No, and I think as ultra run as well, I mean, you were on the line for near on 15 hours of your best running. And sadly, we have to pay the chips. Yeah, we have to pay the price, which, I've done, you put your body on the line, and it's never going to be, I've done this and now I'm back. We're always going to have to just, we ask our body so much that these things, it's just part of the process. And now I mean, I guess you haven't really got anything lined up for well, I dread to think what you're going to tell me.
This is the most bizarre thing. And last year, because there's hardly any races because of COVID, I had like 6 months of just solid training, and then started racing again in August, and had some really good performances that I was really happy with. So I've always kind of been in the don't over race kind of category. And it showed me even more last year. So I was just like, right, I'm going to do Centurion Track in April, and then I'm doing Desert Solstice in December. Nothing like a bit more track running. But you know, between those two, the only other thing I've got planned is I want to try and improve my marathon PB for an early autumn marathon.
Perfection.
So I spoke to my coach afterwards, and I was just like, I've just picked the best time to have an injury. Do you know what I mean? You know, the next race on my training plan is like a local 10K in the summer. So, you know,
I think in some ways it's good because it's going to force you to slow down, do your rehab.
Exactly.
Get back in the gym, cross train your butt off for a bit.
Exactly.
And I love that now you're slow. Probably as well. I want to dip back now into where you are, how you've come to where you are now. But probably all that learning from the years of ultra running as well. You're like, okay, 2 races, focus, block, recover, not 14.
Exactly. And I think that's helped the psychological mindset now. You know, if I had a big race in July now, it would be like, I'm sure we'd be having a very different conversation now. It'd be like, this is the worst thing ever and I'm going to miss it.
Can't record Eddie yet. I'm going to need
exactly. I'm still influenced. Instead, it's just like, you know, and I think as well, you know, if you've been running a long time like we have, and, you know, you run a lot, I don't think an enforced break from running does anyone any harm, does it?
No. And I think the older we get, the uglier, the more wrinkles. As you're talking, and I'm doing facial expressions, is looking at my wrinkles. I think the more we learn, like I'm cross-training so much more now than I ever have. And my running, and keep looking at Strava segments going, oh, I'm actually faster because my legs aren't hanging constantly and I'm cross training, and my joy of running is there rather than a chore than it is when, anyway, let's go back. Let's talk a little bit about the last 7 years. Can you tell us a little bit, because you've done some amazing races, and looking behind you, there's all the, what are they, Lonely Planet guides?
The Lonely Planet books, When I set this up to put the thing here, Tom said, you probably won't see British TV at the moment. All the Conservative politicians come on with a massive UK flag behind it. And Tom said, you look like you need a flag. Obviously, I haven't got a Union Jack flag at home, but he says that's what it looks like. When we started ultra running, because my husband runs as well, we basically just kind of thought, oh, that would be a nice place to go on holiday and do some running. So that's basically how we chose our races. So we were really lucky. We raced in some really, really cool places like Atacama Desert, Ecuador at high altitude, Patagonia, loads of places like that. So it kind of started off like that. They were multi-day races. You know, what I call proper multi-day races, where you're carrying 7-8 kilograms on your back, eating food for a week and stuff like that.
Not changing your kit, just a general.
Yeah, you basically live in one set of clothes a week. So I did one of those every year for 4 years, always with Tom. Sometimes we ran them together, sometimes we ran separately. I just loved them so much. You know, met people, you know, Rhiannon, who we spoke about, we were tent mates in Atacama. She's ended up as being one of my best friends. You know, you make such, you know, form such good friendships and stuff like that. After 4 years of them, then I discovered supported multi-day races, where they carry your stuff from one camp to another and you eat proper food. And I was like, do you know what? I think I'm done with those.
I've done it. I've served my time.
Is well and truly ticked. So and gosh, we did a couple. I did one actually in southern Spain with Rhiannon, who we were just talking about, and I did one in Bhutan as well. So that's probably been my favourite place to run.
What sort of distances are these races? Because you're just nonchalantly listing up all these.
They're about, say, marathonish distance for 4 days, and then they have a long day, which is traditionally about 50 miles, and then they normally have a little, like what I call a victory parade, you know, 10K on the last day or something. But I seem to do okay at those. My running talent is probably, I'm just quite good at chugging along all day. That's how my husband describes me. And he actually says it's a compliment. So I'm taking it as a compliment. I'm taking it as a word. But yes, and that's what you need to do in those kind of races, isn't it? You know, so you'd see the men and they'd hair off on day one. And then by day 3, I'm overtaking them all and just having the
And they go, oh, you again. As if like, well, no offense, mate.
Yeah. So yeah, there was quite a lot of that in the early parts of my running, ultra running journey, or whatever we should call it. And then I've probably dabbled with a bit of everything, which I think a lot of runners do. Do you know what I mean? I did the CCC, you know, I'm not a mountain runner, but I just had a whale of a time there. You know, you can't get involved in the whole, you know, experience. I did an awful race in the Pyrenees where I was literally crawling across boulders at 5-minute mile pace. I was just like, No, this isn't big. And then I kind of discovered the more runnable ultras, so your 24-hour races, your Spartathlon, and that's where my main running love lies. I always say I'm a bit of a fake ultra runner, so when I see all these people skipping around the mountains and stuff like that, I'm going, give me a good bit of road running on a track.
Don't want to lift my feet up, or I have to move my body. It's got to go forward.
I can't even remember the last time I did a race where I had to wear a rucksack, a hat, because I'm just.
You're like the princess of ultra. Like, a pat? No, it ruins my vest line. This is matchy.
So I do sometimes feel a bit of a fake ultra runner.
No. So tell us about like your first 24-hour experience.
So my first 24 hours was Crawley 24 hours, and it was just absolute, I say this a lot, don't I? Just pure running happiness and joy. I wouldn't have thought you could get so much joy running around a track in Crawley for 24 hours.
Especially in Crawley.
Yeah, especially. And I wanted to dabble with it because I always thought I love running laps, I love pure running races, but I didn't know how it would go. And I thought it's important to set yourself a goal in these kind of races. I didn't want to be fixated on the goal, because I've seen some people have goals and then, they realise they're not going to get them, and then, they lose their focus. So I just kind of said to myself, I'd like to get automatic qualification for Spartathlon. So yeah, that was my goal. But it wasn't a make or break goal. I think I needed to run something like 205k. It was like, if I ran 195k, it wouldn't be the end of the world. But it was a goal for me. So if it got to kind of 4 a.m. in the morning and you're like, what on earth am I doing? I'm running around a track in Crawley. It's 4 a.m. in the morning. I've still got 8 hours to go. But I never got to that point. So yeah, it just went like a dream. And that's when I kind of realised I'm quite good at chugging along slowly for a long time. And yeah, so got the Sparta or qualification there, and then did Spartathlon the following year.
Can you tell everybody about Spartathlon?
Oh, it was just the best 30 and a half hours.
Tell us about the race, because some people won't know even what the race is.
It's 153 miles from Athens to Sparta, and it's following like this big historical route. You have to qualify for it, but you can get automatic qualifications if you're 20-25% above the qualification standard. So that's how I got in, so I didn't have to go through the ballot, because that can take 2, 3, 4 years for some people. It's purely on road, apart from you go over a mountain at 100 miles. And various people said to me, you do realise you're basically running along Greek A roads for 150 miles. And, I can't tell you how amazing it is, the whole atmosphere. You run through villages and like entire classes of school children are out, and they all want to high-five you, and you're signing autographs, and you run through little villages and tavernas at night, and, everyone there is just cheering, magical experience. I had kind of no expectations going into it. I just wanted to finish and enjoy myself, and it kind of went really, really well. And in a way, part of me thinks I'll never enjoy a race as much as Spartathlon again, but the other bit of me thinks I don't know if I want to go back, because it was just so perfect. I don't want to tarnish that memory in any way.
When you say you did really well, you did really well. You were fifth lady overall.
Yeah.
Fourth lady overall, and first British lady.
Yeah.
Do you think you do so well as your ultra career is progressing because you haven't put any expectation on your shoulders, and you go to each race with joy and like I'm just going to like when you've done all this traveling and racing, I'm there for the experience.
Yeah, I don't like running under pressure, so definitely taking the pressure away is a good thing for me. And I know, and I've spoken to this a lot with my coach, I'm probably the only one putting pressure on myself. Other people don't really care, and the people that do care just want you to do well, but there is that feeling of pressure. But yeah, so I just like to, I always say, as long as I'm on the start line, I give the best I can and I enjoy myself. They're my main goals, and if the race goes well, then yeah, that's just a bonus.
You must have had races that haven't gone well though. Any that sort of ingrained in your brain, which perhaps didn't go well, but you've managed to maybe turn around or learn from?
Probably the one in the Pyrenees. It just beat me mentally. It was just like,
Which race was it? What was it called?
Grand Raid Pyrenees.
Okay, Grand Raid. Yeah, you should have got that from the title. But
yeah, I just thought it was going to be like the CCC, and the CCC is fairly runnable, isn't it? Yeah, this was just a completely different ballgame. So it just beat me mentally, you know. I was just like trudging over rocks. And, you know, I'm kind of like the stickler for aid station management. You're in, you're out. And I remember just sitting in an aid station, just my head in the hands like that. I was like rocking back to the I've got to go back out there. But I look, you know, there was no reason for me not to finish. So I was just like, you know, I'm just
don't want to climb over another rock.
Yeah, and you know, that's sort of, so that was miserable. You know, more psychologically, and I think because I run and because I enjoy running, there was just no joy in that. It was just utter misery, trudging over rocks and rocks. So that was a good one to kind of beat, you know, kind of the your head really, that's telling you, you know, what to stop. You know, I was almost willing, just like a minor injury. So
I've been there before. Just a little injury. I don't need to go to hospital. I just have to
just
stop.
roll over on my ankle. That would, you know, that would do me. Just put me out for a week or two afterwards. So I had that. I had a couple kind of in my early days where I was probably trying to sort out my nutrition, and you're probably, you know, getting your nutrition right is so hard on things. So I had a couple of ultras where, yeah, my nutrition didn't go to plan, but I just kind of crack on with those. Do you know what I mean? You kind of run walking for 2 miles, then you'll throw up, then you'll carry on with that. And it's, that's just part of ultra running sometimes, isn't it? So yeah, since then I've really sorted out nutrition and pacing and stuff like that. So I haven't really had any bad ones like that.
Now, you are quite infamous on Strava for logging every run, every detail. And when I wake up in the morning and I have a quick Strava check to see what my client's done, and you always, and I'm like bleary-eyed, kettles on, and I'm like, shoot, she's back already from some, and it's not just back from like a little 5K, she's done 27 miles already. I'm not even at my jammies. How do you get up so early and maintain that consistency? You're just an early morning person?
I'm a real early morning person. I love mornings. I just think the world is such a nice place at that time of day. And my husband's the same, which is good. So we haven't got completely conflicting body clocks.
Goodness, yeah. I did wonder that because I thought, does he like lie there and go, just get your alarm going off?
No, we're both exactly the same. So he's always out running pretty early as well. And I just like to go to bed early. I mean, I don't watch any TV or anything like that. So it's no hardship for me to be in bed at 9 o'clock. So I'm still getting a full night's sleep. I just kind of have a different kind of clock to the rest of the world. So I just love getting up early and running at that time of day. Until I joined Strava. I joined Strava quite late, probably about 5 years ago. And I just thought everyone ran at that time. And then it was the only one who's like, no, Sarah, you're the only one that's up at 5 a.m. everybody. But yeah, I just love early mornings.
You've got quite a cult following though, that are like, if you haven't gone, people I imagine check in going, it's not Monday, it's not rest day, Sarah, where are you?
I'm such a creature of habit and I love my consistency. But yeah, no, I just don't like running in the day. And as for running in an evening, that just plays kind of all kind of.
No, well, you're in your jammies by like 5:30, like, aren't you?
When do you eat as well? If you're running in an evening, it's just game over. So, yeah.
I just can't anything before 6. Yeah. I think having kids has ruined me a bit as well.
It's completely different.
I think before I could get up at like 5 and go swimming. And then I'd come back and have breakfast. The
other thing you've got to remember is, so you're juggling, you're running with 3 little ones. There's me, Tom, and we've got 2 rescue dogs. But it's a very, very different kind of thing, isn't it? You know, we can be much more selfish with our time than people like you that are juggling running with a family.
I'm still really selfish with my time. No one's getting in the way of my running, don't worry. So let's talk a little bit about what you do when you're not running, because I was thinking about you because my Pilates teacher's just been on holiday, and before she was on holiday, I couldn't do Pilates too. So I've had a 4-week break from Pilates, and I had my first class. I always call it a lesson because I feel a bit like I'm being told what to do. I always learn. And she's like, at the start of the class, she said, Eddie, you've been away for 4 weeks. This is going to hurt. So everyone else was like, but you are a Pilates teacher in your normal life.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about how that came about, how you fit that in with running, and why you think it's so important to do?
So when I started running, I was completely clueless, and me and Tom started running at a similar time. We didn't know any other runners then, so it's just kind of things that I read, and all the running magazines and books said do yoga and Pilates with your running, and I was like, okay, I'll do
so
this.
you weren't a Pilates teacher and then come into running?
No. So I only started doing Pilates and yoga when I started running, which is 11 years ago. And, you know, really, I was such a big advocate of it. You know, I think they work really well together. And then it was only when we moved down to Brighton from London, I'd always thought about doing my teacher training, but at the time it was just to kind of increase my knowledge of it, because I always think the more knowledge you have of something, the more you get out of it. So I did my teacher training, I absolutely loved it, you know, learned so much. And then started just covering a few classes for people, because I was probably a bit like, who's going to want to come and do Pilates classes with me? So I started covering a few people's classes, and then they would go, oh, and I think it's really important, you know, there's lots of good teachers out there, but it's who you click with their style of teaching. So people are like, oh, I really like your style, where do you teach? And I was like, nowhere, kind of thing. So I kind of like, we thought, I've got to be really brave, and I set up 2 classes, and it's just grown since there. I teach 5 classes now. They've obviously been online because of COVID. Quite a lot of it is to runners, but I do teach non-runners as well. I describe my Pilates as probably like Pilates for people who don't want to do Pilates. So I try and make it more fun, and rather than, you know, the really traditional kind of stuff. You know, it's all the Pilates exercises, but I think exercise, like life, should be fun, shouldn't it?
Absolutely. And my Pilates teacher is lovely in that she's very understanding when she's like, everybody straighten the legs. Eddie, no, you bend yours a bit. Yours can't do that. Don't be ridiculous. You haven't got hamstrings for that. But you have to have a really understanding Pilates teacher. Most of them are, that it's like, and I'm learning that. And I love Pilates because I'm always learning, and every class is different. But it keeps me really in touch with my body, that I don't even know. Like yesterday, we were doing roll-ups, you know, legs up above the head, and I was like, oh, my spine is really tight on that left, and I wouldn't have known that had I not done Pilates. And it's so different to running. They couldn't get like worlds apart, but they're so connected. They're
connected, and I think it puts you really, really in tune with your body. Like you said, my physio always says to me that I'm just so in tune that if anything just feels like the tiniest bit out, she said, a normal person wouldn't know that, but you're so in tune with your body. Normal, you know what I mean. And you know, I think, you know, if you've got any weaknesses, it really identifies things like that. So I just think they work so well together.
How do you do the 5 classes as well as the run training? Do you do the classes as people are doing them, or do you sometimes
when I was teaching,
watch now?
So when I was teaching in person, I demonstrate a bit, and then I just go having a chat with people, especially if you're teaching a class full of runners. You know, they all want to tell you, like, you know, the latest race plan. The last year teaching online on Zoom, oh my God, you have to basically do the full Pilates class for an hour. I'm like, God, this is quite hard at times.
How do you do the talking and the exercise?
And then sometimes I get, right, I'm just going to check everyone. So I've got it all set up. So I'm just going to check everyone, but really I'm using it to have a little brain myself. Don't tell anyone.
Do you do any other like strength and conditioning or cross training to complement your running?
So I do the Pilates and yoga. So probably do about 5 hours Pilates a week, 2 to 3 hours of yoga. I do a lot of stuff in the gym, strength work. Obviously, things have been a bit weird the last year. You know,
but in an ideal world,
But yeah, I love running, but I love other things as well, if that makes sense. So, you know, this like bit of time of running now, it's not phasing me at all, because it's just like, I've got so many other things that I love to do. Whereas I know some runners, if it's like, you're not going to run, it's just like, oh my God, this is the end of the world as we know.
Yeah, it's so important to have, and I think you have to force yourself, because we're creatures of habit, aren't we? And often in the first week post race, I'm quite happy not to run because I feel like death. And then the next week, if I'm having like 2 or 3 weeks downtime, I'm like, oh, just a little jog, I'm like, no, be strong. Don't be one of those people, Eddie. Don't be one of those people. Be strong. Because now again, I think we've learned, you come back too quickly back from a race, you're going to fight that. It's never going to end happily.
At some point, you know, you can maybe do it for a few training cycles and race cycles, but at some point it is going to come back and bite you on the bum, isn't it? So yeah, I kind of always, I train hard, as you know. I like to race hard, but I really like to recover hard.
Well, we've seen the pub, the beers.
Yeah, but you know, that's what it's about, isn't it? You know, I always take it, you know, at least 10 days off running after a big ultra. Do you know what I mean? I'll put my feet up, I'll drink beer, and I think that balance is really good, isn't it?
So important. Can you tell us what a typical training week looks like for you? Because we sort of talked about it because I know it, but I'm realizing people are listening, not knowing.
Yeah.
So how does your normal training week look?
So I like a rest day on a Monday. I'm very much a creature of habit. So when I started working with Joe Stewart, I was like, I like a rest day on Monday. I was like really specific. He's like, whoa, right? You do know what you like. So yeah, I like a rest day on a Monday. Tuesdays and Thursdays is always speed work. Wednesday and Friday is easy running. I run super, super easy on my easy days. I think some people must look at me on Strava and think, you must be a really crap runner, But I'm really big on the polarization, so your hard days are hard, your easy days are really easy. Saturday will always be a long run. It could be anything from 20 to, I went up to 35 miles for Centurion Track, which I've never run that far in training, but James just wanted to try a few different things with me. But they're generally, 20 to 26 miles. And then Sunday is generally a recovery-ish type one as well. So 70, 80 miles a week is kind of my sweet spot, but recently a lot of that has been on the flat. If I was training for a more mountainous race like I have in the past, the mileage would be lower, but the time on feet would be the same. I don't get caught up in mileage or anything like that. It's so individual, I think.
And what does the future hold now? You talked about you're going to do a faster. What's your marathon PB, and what are you going to be? You don't have to share what you want to be gunning for, but
they are an open book, Eddie. So I ran 3:11 at Goodwood in December, which was kind of en route to the Centurion Track, and I was so happy because I've always wanted to just qualify for championship place at London Marathon. Don't actually want to run London Marathon, which it sounds quite nice that I've got the option to do it if I want. So, and I didn't really have a very good race then because it was super windy and I really messed up my pacing. So I'd like to try and get down to low threes, I think, with a proper block of marathon training. So we'll see. I'll kind of put my cards on the table.
Have you got a marathon? Have you got a marathon in mind?
It's all a bit bonkers. I mean, you must find this as well with your training and racing in COVID time. So I've got 3 marathons. I won't do them all. I've got Reykjavik Marathon, which was postponed from last year. So trained for it last year, 2 weeks before it was cancelled. One of those going to say for, the race is cancelled. So I've got that. I've got Bryce Marathon, which has been also cancelled from COVID. And then I've got the championship place at London. So they're all 3 weeks apart. So I haven't decided with James how we're going to play it yet. Are we going to just do one? Are we going to choose one maybe with some marathon pace miles in? Or I don't know about you, but COVID's just changed how I plan and organise things. I'm the most organised person, it's embarrassing. And I've realised you can't be like that in COVID times, can you? You've just kind of got to go with it and roll with it and just say, yeah. So one of those marathons, and then I'm doing Desert Solstice 24 hours in December. So I had a place last year, but obviously we couldn't travel to America, could we? So yeah, more running on a track.
No, it suits you and you're good at it. In the back of your mind, is there a little bit of, I'd like to try and get the GB team qualifications
do you know what? So many people.
Sorry, I had to ask. Do
you know what? So many people have said this to me. One, I'm like, I'm not GB standard. I look at the GB runners and my husband brings everything back to football. And he said, so basically, this is another compliment. He said, he describes me as an Everton. Right? He goes, you're really good. He goes, you're consistent, you're hardworking, right? But I know to be in the GB team, you need to be Champions League. I look at the likes of Kat and Ali, they're the Chelseas, the Real Madrids, the Man Cities. So I just don't really think I'm in that league. So
yeah, but you need all those teams. Take this back to Tom and say, we need all those teams in the league. You can't just have Chelsea and Man United. You need Sheffield and you need Everton to bring up the team.
So it genuinely isn't something that I've ever gone into a race and thought I'm going to try and get GB qualification for. I genuinely just don't think I'm at that level. I think I'm the Everton.
I think you should just carry on with that mental attitude and just see organically. Let's just see where it happens. And I'm absolutely sure that if you could, because and they'll all say it, the guys and girls on the GB team, they are really, really strong runners, but you can also have an absolute shocker But you are very, very consistent. You go to a race and you perform and you will put yourself on the line. So do not undersell yourself. Keep it in the back of your head. And I'm a big fan of Everton. So I'll go with it. What is on your bucket list of races that money's no object, time's no object, what would it be?
It was always Spartathlon, and then I well and truly tick that box. So it's Badwater.
Of course. I was thinking Western States, and then I was like, no, it's too many routes and stuff. You'd have to put your feet up for that.
I'm probably the only ultra runner I know that doesn't go in the ballot for Western States every year. Badwater really, really, really appeals to me. I realised in Greece that, I like running a long way on road in hot conditions. I'm not one for things like the arc of attrition and spine, all that running in the cold and wet and muddy stuff. Oh, that's just not for me. Get my vest on.
You you only run in vest tops, so it'd be really, really cold. Never seen you in a jacket. Oh.
Waterproof jacket, what's up? So Badwater I'd probably like to do in the next couple of years. I'd quite like to do Grand Union Canal race. So again, my husband's done that twice, and I've crewed and paced him on there, and he thinks it would really suit me. And
I think so too. Yeah.
I put in a tactical go in the ballot for this year. So I knew you don't really get in the first go, so I've got 2 goes in the ballot for next year. So that would be quite next year. So yeah.
I love it. And Gary always likes me to ask, you have mentioned that you don't watch TV, but what do you do to relax? That's you finish a hard training session or you've got a rest day. What do you do to chillax?
Yeah, I genuinely do not watch TV. A few people have been recommending TV shows to me because I knew I wasn't going to be running, and I was like, don't watch TV. There's a joke in our house. I don't actually know how to put our TV on.
Amazing. So in the evening, like you have your dinner. Do you knit? Are you going to tell me you like?
No, I like to read. I read loads. I love reading. I like hanging out with my dogs and Tom. I like nice beer. I like a good old craft beer. I really like good food. So it's more those kind of things, I do like hiking and stuff like that, which is just probably getting a bit too much energetic.
Did you find it really hard then in lockdown, because you love interaction with people and stuff, and then without that and just being insular, did you find that hard, or did you find that okay?
You know what? We had, it sounds awful, we just had a really good lockdown. It was just me and Tom hanging out together with the dogs and doing lots of running. And I feel that sounds really frivolous because, I've got friends that have worked in, front lines throughout it all. And it's just like, it really didn't affect us. We were both already working from home for the majority of the time. All of a sudden we don't have children, so we weren't homeschooling. So it was just, it didn't really impact on us that much. It didn't change our lives that much. Obviously, we had some holidays cancelled, we had some races cancelled. You can't even go there because there's such first world problems. If you start moaning about, a race being cancelled when you've got friends that are working in ICU world.
Yeah, but perhaps it just reiterated that you have all your ducks in order. Is that what you say? Like life, you don't rely on a lot of outside things in your life. You're very happy just with a really simple, easy life. And I think a lot of people then in lockdown realized that they were too, but it took quite a lot of people along a bit of a battle to get there. And now as we're coming out of lockdown and people are like, perhaps they'll go back to, old ways, or perhaps people think actually the simpler way, less structure, less activity, more exercise, more time to cook, more time to hang out with a family. They probably have all seen enough of that.
I think we were quite lucky in the UK in one sense that we could always go outside and run. So I remember seeing you on Strava and you were making the most of your hour a day, weren't you? Didn't feel like we were rubbing it in a bit back here because, they did say, as long as you exercise, relatively close to home, you've got unlimited exercise. So I think that did make a difference. I think I said to Tom many times, I think if you're a runner, it was probably the easiest thing to be in lockdown because what you do hasn't been taken away from you. Whereas if you were a swimmer, the pools were closed. If you like to go to the gym, the gyms were closed. If you like to go to the theatre, the theatres were closed. Whereas the thing that we love was never taken away from us.
What I found really interesting, total digression, was that they just had the British Swimming Championships for the Olympic trials, and the swimmers all did PBs. They were like breaking records. They were just as good, and they haven't been in the pool because they've been cross-training.
That's what I was saying.
There you go, you see. And I think I was listening to a podcast with Lucy Charles Barkley, who's a triathlete who I love, and incredible eyebrows. And she's got eyebrows, I don't have any. Yeah. And she was saying, that she'd always cross-trained, but loads of swimmers just swam, and it was just all about meters. Whereas in lockdown, when the pools were shut, even the elite swimmers weren't allowed in the pool, and they had to cross-train. But it's meant that it's opened their eyes to other things. And I think I think lots of people who weren't runners, it's opened their eyes to, running is free. It's right out the door. You get to be in nature and be free, and you feel so much better for it. So though lockdown was rubbish, I know, I'm hoping it's brought lots of people into the running community. And I think as well, it's made us realize how much we love the community and races. As much as we love training, dear Lord, the training block has to finish at some point. Mine's been like 2 years.
Races planned, or are you just still like, let's just wing it and see what's happened?
I finished my winter block this week. I'm on a deload week because I had to stop at some point and now start to go towards races. I've got some races entered local. I've entered like every trail race. My husband was asking me this morning, he's like, so what races have you entered? I've entered every trail race in like the 50k vicinity.
Yeah.
And just hoping that one of them will happen. If they all happen, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be mad.
I think you just have to jump on any opportunities you get. So like last year when races started being cancelled, I was like, right, I was meant to be doing Comrades and Desert Solstice last year, 2 huge bucket list races. I was like, right, they're not going to happen. So instead, I kind of reframed. I thought, right, instead of thinking, right, coronavirus has taken this away from me, I was like, right, let's reframe it and think, what opportunities can it give me? So I was like, do you know what? I've got no ultras. So why am I going to be training for ultras? Let's focus on shorter stuff. And, I got some of my, shorter PBs found. So I think it's just reframing it and just jumping on any opportunity that we can get help, isn't it, at this time? It's
just about doing what we can, remembering why we love running and being grateful, like you said, to be able to go out running every day and not be injured. And it's not forever, though it feels like it sometimes.
Oh, I know.
Right. Okay. So we will put in the show notes where people can find you on Strava, on Instagram. You teach your Pilates on Zoom. Can people contact you to join in your classes, or are they full, or?
Yeah. I mean, it's even when we go, the studio reopens 2 weeks time, but we're still going to stream the classes on Zoom as well. So people want to join that way as well, because I think some people are still going to be a bit nervous about kind of coming back to, normal everyday life. Whereas I know some people are just like, get me back to normality. Do you know what I mean? If I have to do another class on Zoom, I'm going to
I like the Zoom because I can just lie my mat down and people can just run riot around me, and I don't, but also I'm ready now. But I also like going to the studio because it's quiet and I'm not going to get hit over the head with a frosty spots or a trainer, and it's a bit of me time. But we'll put all the notes to find Sarah on the show. Sarah, thank you so much for coming and chatting so eloquently and beautifully about running. You make ultra running sound so glamorous and such a joy. I hope people will pick up on that, and good luck with the rehab. I mean, this time next week you'll be back cracking out some I'm going to chat with James saying I think she's ready for some 3-hour hill reps.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. As I said, you've always been one of my favourite runners, so I was so honoured and flattered when you go on.
Thanks for tuning in to the Run to the Hills podcast, and thanks to Chia Charge for sponsoring the show. Chia Charge is about people having real food on the go that is made from ingredients you have heard of, and they taste great too. Great, really enjoyed catching up with Sarah. I've not kind of heard Sarah's story before, so I found that really interesting. Hope you did too. Right then, Eddie, what is up for the following week?
Well, my eyes are going to be glued on the Thames Path 100 this week. Runs, starts in London, runs along the Thames Path. It's flat and it's about 50 miles of it is on tarmac. It looks like an easy 100-miler, but it's relentless. I mean, there is nothing to you. I'm not sure you'd like this one, Gary. There's no hills. There's not the occasional bridge crossing to break up the monotony. Now, normally the race goes off the first 26 to 30 miles are all kind of in London along concrete. People go off so fast. It's a great spectator sport because they come into like checkpoint 2 covered in sweat, and you're like, you've got another 70 miles to go. People will run the first marathon in like 3 hours 15, 3 hours 30, and they'll say, yeah, it's going really easy, and then they'll walk from halfway.
Burn all the matches.
So if you're doing it, guys, take it easy. But my eyes are going to be glued on that. Got a few clients doing that. Also, my great mate Dan Lawson, who's the Le Jogger world record holder, he's going. This is his sort of first race back from.
You listen to the podcast. Their podcast.
Oh, what an idiot! Honestly.
What's he doing?
Honestly, if you haven't listened to Dan and James Twitter on about the Track 100, it's a great podcast because they were there and watched it all unfold. Yeah. But also, don't eat it while you're having your breakfast because Dan got a mate to pierce his tongue and then can't speak. It was free. Can't eat. I got a WhatsApp last night saying he's managed to eat a bit of bread. Oh.
It just sounds, oh my goodness, it sounds
but
so
painful. He's mad. He's totally mad. I remember saying to him when I did that day jog with him, when he was doing his Le Jog record, and I was like, so what? I was just trying to get him to talk, trying to just cover up the fact that the A9 was going past.
Yeah.
What, Dan, what are you going to eat? Like, what are you going to really look forward to eating when you finish this? He's like, a bowl of crispy green lettuce, I think. I'm not sure you and him could be mates, actually, Gary.
That never ever entered my head in my whole life.
I mean, that's like a lettuce next to like the curry or something as a little palate freshener. So I'm going to be watching that. I've got a quiet weekend, not much training, a little dabble of training, and then try and restoke the energy levels. Lots of good food, lots of sleep. Nice. Ready to go, for some new sessions next week. What about you?
Well, tonight is down the seaside again, hopefully, and it is 6 times 5 minutes with a minute recovery at 10k pace, so a little bit faster than threshold. But I'm not feeling 100% today, Eddie. So I'll go, I'll do the first one at least and see how it pans out. But I'm going with a friend, so you have to be accountable when you're with somebody else. So we'll see how it goes. Other than that, it's back over the lakes again. I want to do, logistically wise, I want to do leg 1 and leg 2 again, just because it's easy parking and stuff. We might do leg 5 out and back because my friend this is classic. He's been asked to be navigator on leg 5 of a Bob Graham round attempt. And currently he's never done a full leg 5. He's been as far as Robinson. Everybody knows you do Dalehead, Hindescarth and Robinson, and then you drop down into the valley and basically run to Keswick. He has been to Robinson, so he's done the 3 peaks of that leg, but after that, he's never...
Okay, I think maybe he needs to have a little practice of... Let's hope the person he's guiding isn't listening to this.
I know he knows. I think he's expressed his concern. Well, I'm pretty concerned. It's the same Bob Graham round, and I've got to run up, like I said, Skiddaw a lot quicker than what I've ever done. Plus, I'll be carrying all their kit. But hey,
all good practice.
Yeah, all good practice. So either 1 and 2 or 5 out and back. And maybe if we do 5 out and back, we might go to Great Gable as well and kind of do Great Gable out and back. That is it. Yeah. So fingers crossed the weather is okay.
Oh, let's pray. Let's pray for some sun here.
So any races this weekend? You mentioned that one earlier, but on my radar, there is the Hardmoors Wainstones Marathon and Half Marathon. I'm not too sure if they got the 10K as well, actually. But good luck to everybody doing that. And also, I've done Wainstones before. I think the route's probably slightly changed over the years, but that's a really, really nice route, that event over the moors. And also, there's a race I've never done is the Dukeries Ultra. There might be a few different distances for that one too. But that is super popular. But yeah, I've never done it. But good luck to everybody towing the line this weekend.
Good luck, everybody. Have a great week. I'm Eddie Sutton.
And I'm Gary Thwaites. And
let's run to the hills.